Why grace is more powerful than perfection. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I used to be more put together? Maybe it's not about the wrinkles or the gray hair. Maybe it's that quiet voice in the back of your mind whispering, you're not who you used to be. You forget a name here and there. You drop something. You miss a step. And suddenly, that old word, perfect, feels far, far away. But here's the truth nobody says out loud, perfection was never the goal. Especially not now. Not at this beautiful, hard-earned chapter of life. See, somewhere along the way, we were taught to keep everything spotless, our homes, our emotions, our image. To never show cracks. To smile even when we were exhausted. To apologize when we didn't have all the answers. But what if I told you there's something much stronger, much more powerful than chasing perfection? Grace. Grace isn't about getting everything right. It's about showing up anyway. It's that deep breath when things fall apart. The gentle smile you give yourself when your hands shake or your memory falters. It's choosing kindness over criticism, especially when that criticism is aimed at you. And if there's one stage in life when we deserve to lead with grace, it's now. You've lived through heartbreak, joy, grief, laughter, illness, recovery, maybe even war or widowhood. You've raised families, buried loved ones, started over when others would have quit. That's not imperfection. That's strength. So why do we still feel like we're not enough? The world has changed. Social media shows us highlight reels. Young people post flawless faces and filtered lives. And it's easy to feel invisible, like we're standing in the shadows of what used to be. But here's what I believe, and I want you to hear me clearly. Your worth isn't measured by how perfect you look, move, or speak. It's measured by your presence. Your stories. Your ability to stay soft in a world that hardens most people with time. Let's talk about this together, heart to heart. Let's explore why choosing grace over perfection might just be the most powerful decision you can make, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. Because when we give ourselves grace, we model something beautiful. We show the younger generations that aging isn't failure. It's growth. That life after 60, or 70, or 80 can be just as full of love, light, and purpose as any other season. So let me ask you this, do you remember the last time you gave yourself permission to rest? Not because you finished everything on your to-do list. Not because you earned it. But just because you're human. And tired. And worthy. Perfection says, keep going. You haven't done enough. Grace says, you've done more than enough. Rest now. And resting is not giving up. It's not laziness. It's restoration. It's how you keep showing up with love, with wisdom, with energy to offer others. I once knew a woman, her name was June, who used to iron her sheets. Yes, her sheets. She believed in doing everything just right. Her kitchen sparkled, her hair was never out of place, and she baked perfect pies with tiny forked edges on every crust. But do you know what her granddaughter remembered most about her? Not the pies. Not the house. She remembered the way her grandmother used to sit beside her on the porch swing, barefoot, soft voice humming old hymns, while letting the girl cry without asking her to stop. That's grace. Quiet, unpolished, real. You don't have to be flawless to be unforgettable. You don't have to look like you did at 40 to still turn heads, because grace has a presence. It walks into a room and brings calm. It listens more than it speaks. It forgives the past. It lets go of should've and embraces what is. So if today, your body is slower, or your memory isn't as sharp, or you feel left behind in a fast-moving world, I want you to hear this loud and clear. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are blooming. Every laugh line on your face is a trace of joy. Every scar on your body is proof you survived. And every moment you choose patience, kindness, forgiveness, especially when it's hardest, you're exercising the kind of power that perfection could never touch. Perfection is brittle. It shatters under pressure. Grace? Grace bends. It breathes. It heals. That's why grace is power. Not just for ourselves, but for the people we love. Because the truth is, when we stop demanding perfection from ourselves, we stop demanding it from others. We become gentler with our kids, softer with our spouses, more understanding with friends who've disappointed us. And isn't that what the world needs more of? Not people who look perfect, but people who love well. So if your hands are a little shakier when you write, or your knees creak when you stand, or your words sometimes stumble out of order, let them. Let life be messy, real, unfiltered. Because the world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present, and graceful, and kind, especially to yourself. Now, take a breath with me. A slow one. In and out. You're doing just fine. And from here, we'll keep going, together. You're doing just fine. And that simple truth, you're doing just fine, is something we all need to hear a little more often. Especially now. Because let's be honest, we live in a world that celebrates doing. What did you accomplish today? Did you finish your errands? Have you lost the weight? Are you keeping up with your grandkids? It's this constant pressure to check the boxes, to prove something, even when there's nothing left to prove. But what if we turned that question around? What if, instead of asking, what did I do today? We asked, how did I love today? Did I show up with compassion, for myself, for others? Did I listen without interrupting? Did I pause before reacting in frustration? Did I give someone grace, even if they didn't deserve it? Because that is powerful. We think strength looks like standing tall, having it all together, being sharp and swift and sure. But I've learned, and maybe you have too, that real strength sometimes looks like letting yourself cry in the car after a hard doctor's visit. Or calling a friend to say, I'm lonely. Can we talk? Or walking away from an argument, not because you're weak, but because you finally realized peace matters more than being right. See, perfection wants to win. Grace wants to connect. And connection, that's the real treasure of getting older. You realize that time is too precious to waste pretending. You stop performing. You start revealing. You get better at saying what matters and letting go of what doesn't. I remember a man named Harold I used to see at the local community center. Every Tuesday, without fail, he'd shuffle in wearing the same navy sweater, elbows a little worn out, and he'd bring muffins for the folks in his chair yoga class. Now Harold didn't move fast. He didn't talk much. But the way he looked people in the eye when they spoke, the way he remembered your name, even when he forgot his keys, it made you feel like you mattered. He never tried to impress. He simply showed up with kindness. That's grace in motion. And it makes you wonder, what if we stopped trying to impress and started trying to impact? You don't need fancy words or big gestures to make someone feel seen. Sometimes the greatest gift is just sitting beside someone and saying, I don't have the answers either, but I'm here. So let me ask you something, and be honest. Are you still holding yourself to an old version of who you used to be? Maybe the strong one who took care of everyone. The one who could clean the house in a day, balance the checkbook in her head, cook dinner, and still have the energy to help with homework. Or maybe you were the man who fixed everything. The problem solver. The one people came to when the world felt shaky. And now? Maybe your knees ache. Maybe your memory slips. Maybe some days, getting out of bed feels like a mountain climb. But friend, hear me when I say this, you are still worthy. You are still needed. You are still powerful, just in a different way. You're not who you were at 40. And thank goodness. You've got more soul now. More discernment. You know what matters. You've learned that silence can speak louder than shouting. That a slow walk with someone you love is worth more than rushing through 100 tasks. Grace grows with time. And so does wisdom. Perfection wants to freeze you at your best. But grace says, let's keep growing. And with that kind of mindset, aging stops being a loss and starts feeling like a gift. Because you've earned this softer pace, this deeper understanding, this quiet knowing that life isn't about how flawless it looks on the outside, it's about how honest it feels on the inside. So if today you need to sit down more often, that's okay. If your hands shake when you pour your tea, that's okay too. It doesn't make you less. It makes you human. And maybe that's the gift of growing older. We finally get permission to be instead of prove. To enjoy instead of perform. To love without conditions. To extend grace not just to others, but to ourselves. You've carried so much. For so long. Maybe it's time to set some of it down. Let go of the guilt from what you didn't do. The regret from what you said. The pressure to stay strong all the time. Perfection says, you should have done better. Grace says, you did your best. And when we start living from that place, things change. We stop picking ourselves apart. We start seeing beauty in what's real, even if it's messy. Especially if it's messy. We learn to appreciate the beauty of a quiet morning. The joy of hearing birds sing while we sip coffee. The warmth of a phone call from an old friend. These things don't show up on to-do lists, but they are the heartbeat of a good life. So if you've been hard on yourself lately, if you've been carrying the weight of not enough, let this moment be a pause. A reset. You are more than the checklists. More than the old photos. More than what the world says you should be. You are enough. Right now. As you are. And that, my friend, is the kind of grace that heals. And that, my friend, is the kind of grace that heals. But grace doesn't just heal old wounds. It opens new doors. Because when you stop chasing perfection, you finally have room to experience joy. Not the big, flashy kind, but the quiet kind that lives in the small, simple things. Like the joy of waking up without an alarm clock and not feeling guilty about it. The joy of wearing your softest clothes instead of what's presentable. The joy of laughing at your own forgetfulness instead of feeling ashamed. That's the freedom grace gives you, the freedom to show up as you are, without apology. And here's the beautiful part, when you give yourself that kind of freedom, you start giving it to others, too. You begin to let your loved ones off the hook. You stop expecting your children to be perfect parents. You stop needing your partner to read your mind. You even forgive friends who disappeared when you needed them most, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Because grace isn't just a gentle way to live, it's a strong way to love. You start seeing people for who they are, not who you wanted them to be. You accept the messy conversations, the missed calls, the awkward moments. And you still choose to stay. To care. To keep your heart open. That's powerful. Perfection walks out when things get tough. Grace pulls up a chair and says, let's talk. Perfection keeps score. Grace keeps showing up. And at this point in life, when time feels more precious, when our circles get smaller, when our energy isn't what it used to be, we don't need more rules. We need more grace. For others. For life. For ourselves. I know there are days when you miss who you used to be. When your reflection surprises you. When your body doesn't cooperate. When your plans get canceled because you just don't have it in you. But those moments don't make you less. They make you real. And real is rare. Real is strong. Real means you've lived. You've cried on bathroom floors. You've watched dreams crumble. You've rebuilt your life after heartbreak. You've learned how to keep loving even when love was hard. That's not failure. That's courage. So let go of the idea that you have to hold everything together all the time. Let go of the pressure to be the strong one, the wise one, the one who never complains. Let go of the voice that says, you should have done more. And hold on to this instead, you are enough. Just as you are. Right here. Right now. Not when the house is clean. Not when the weight is gone. Not when the to-do list is finished. Right now. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to explain your limits. You don't have to make yourself smaller just to make others comfortable. You get to take up space. You get to feel deeply. You get to be human. And being human means you'll mess up. You'll forget things. You'll lose your temper. You'll need help. But grace reminds you that none of that takes away your value. If anything, it makes you more lovable. More relatable. More you. So let's stop trying to be perfect for a world that doesn't even know what perfect is. Let's be real. Let's be kind. Let's be people who age with open hearts and soft edges and full lives. Because grace doesn't mean you've given up, it means you've grown up. It means you've traded the pressure to impress for the power to embrace. It means you've stopped performing and started living. And if you've made it this far in life, through all the storms and joys and heartbreaks and miracles, you've earned the right to live with that kind of grace. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Today. So take that walk without worrying about the pace. Eat that cake without explaining yourself. Say no without guilt. Say yes to joy, even when it feels unfamiliar. Be proud of your scars. Be gentle with your soul. And above all, keep showing up. Because your presence, not your perfection, is the greatest gift you can offer this world. Now, if this message spoke to your heart today, I hope you'll share a piece of your story in the comments below. What have you learned about grace? What's something you've let go of, or something you're still learning to forgive? And if this video gave you even a little more peace, a little more courage, a little more permission to be kind to yourself, I'd be honored if you'd give it a like and subscribe to the channel. We're building a space here, a gentle, honest space, for people like us to grow, connect, and keep becoming. Because aging isn't about fading. It's about rising. And grace is the light that leads the way. Here's to living with softness, strength, and soul. Here's to living your best life at any age. You deserve it.